Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namni Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharana Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashkasya Advasatarana. So I was asked to speak about Bhagavad Gita, selecting shloka from the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. As we know, first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is an introductory chapter. It doesn't really contain any philosophical part much. It's basically description of the scene, of setting the scene. I was amazed how many lectures Srila Prabhupada gave on this chapter, which doesn't really give some impetus for some philosophical discussion. Yeah, I was just amazed how many lectures Prabhupada gave on this. And they are a little bit different, like the rest of the lectures about the rest of Bhagavad Gita, which is very, very philosophical. Yeah. Here in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we have Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield. First, starting quite innocently, Arjuna is telling Krishna, who played the role of his charioteer driver, the driver of the chariot. So Arjuna is quite innocently asking Krishna, please can you drive the chariot in front between the two armies which are facing each other, ready for the battle. Now, this was not just some little conflict. This was so huge, where the armies assembled there, that we actually almost today, when we read the numbers, this is okay. Yeah. When we read the numbers of these soldiers being assembled there on both sides, you could get some doubts. The numbers are actually mentioned are so huge that you could think, how could they even fit on a battlefield? Now, Kurukshetra battlefield is until today existing. The place is existing. It is huge, yeah. It is a landscape. It is not just some football field, you know. It's a landscape. And in that landscape, thousands, hundreds of thousands, we could say millions of soldiers assembled on both sides, ready to fight. Huge. Because the kings had the loyal kings. It was several kingdoms coming together on each side. And allies, you know, otherwise one king, one army would not be enough. So, as we know then from the high level, it was all arranged by Krishna, who tried actually, first of all, to avoid that battle by inducing the brothers. Actually, it was a family problem. It was actually originally one big dynasty. But as it is a customary, we know in the history of mankind, that even the dynasties are falling apart because of the frictions between the members. We have in every country practically, I'm coming from Czech Republic, that's a place which was the center of the royalty and everything in Europe for Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, it was like the center. There were so many different, in Czech you have castles, you have fortresses on every village, you know, it's completely covered the whole country. It's like one big museum practically today. But previously, There was always, the individual royals living in a fortress, always on top of the hill. Actually, it's quite crazy because to live on the top of the hill is a problematic thing. You have to go up and down, just to drill water. You have to drill through the hill before you find water. On a flat land would be not so much of a problem. On a hill, it is a problem. They have wells, each of these castles, which are very, very deep. And then why on a hill? It's windy, it's usually more cold like anywhere else. To get up and down is a problem. No, they had to be on the hill to show how high they are and look over the landscape. And these fortresses were very strategically placed, actually along the roads of businessmen who were traveling around, transporting goods, So along that, on the hills, you had these fortresses coming up, and they had to pay always some custom to the local king so they could pass, Otherwise, the landscape was quite wild. You couldn't go just with a chariot anywhere you wanted. Especially Czech Republic, the border areas are very hilly, So anyway, and there was always a problem, even between the brothers, If you go, every country has its own story actually of that. In every country you find a story like this. That once upon a time the brothers got in problems and then the whole family split. And they were even poisoning each other, killing each other. I mean, these castles were full of intrigues, The king couldn't even eat peacefully because he didn't know if it's poison. So he had an extra man eating for him first. When he didn't die, okay, then the king was taking lunch. So it's actually quite difficult time. It's a difficult life to be a king. So we have this situation in Bhagavad Gita, but it's big dynasties. Originally like brothers, originally like friends, growing up together. But it's the age of conflict and hypocrisy. This age Kali was just about to start. So it was already there, There are symptoms of this age. Unnecessary conflict for nothing. Nothing. People will start to argue like they need that. Like when you have some itch, you have to scratch yourself, so they feel some itch to argue. It doesn't have to be even philosophical. It's purely when you look in a background of the whole thing, it's actually quite emotional. It's nothing to do with rationality, actually, really. Very often, or it's just fights over ladies. That's very often like that. There's India has a big history of this. Actually, India had a very unusual time where the local kings, once upon a time, it was dynasties, and local kings everywhere. India divided in local kingdoms, and they were quite cooperating. There's no really record of big fights between these kings until the British came. And the British, they have a strategy. They teach it until today. They have special schools for that. Divide and rule. That means you create frictions, you split people, divide them in small groups, which then are more easy to control, like if people are united. United people is very dangerous for the government or for anybody. That's the reason why they are so prosecuting anybody who wants to unite people. All these people, starting with Gandhi and whatever, whoever want to unite the people got immediately in trouble. Because this is dangerous for demoniac personalities, for materialistic people, rulers, not to be united. Now, today, it's nothing changed. Today is the same thing. Same thing. I spoke already 10 years ago to a policeman, and he said, we are very busy in the police. I said, oh, so much crime. He said, no, not much more crime. We have extra seminars and extra schooling, intense schooling, how to control masses of people. And I told him, but I don't see any masses of people. And he said, no, we are preparing. They are coming. We are preparing. So you see, this is the policy. They are scared when people come together for whatever reason. But this is scary. So divide. Internet is wonderful for this. It gives us the impression we are so united, isn't it? Oh. We have 5,000 friends on Facebook, but we are sitting alone and lonely at home in front of our computer. Not even talking to the neighbor next to us. There are examples of that. People sitting at home writing emails and so much friends, and so much action on Facebook or whatever. But there's a strange smell in the house. You know why? Because a neighbor died, a few months ago and nobody even cared. He's rotting away his body in the next apartment. People don't even know. This is a society of today. You look out here. There's just small apartments, windows. Who is on the street? Now I could go more in detail and get lost. I'm not addressing yet. I didn't even start the lecture. This is just introduction. How it was when I came 1986 to Sweden. It was not the Sweden of today. I remember well. It was still a flavor of the folkhemmet, they call it, the home of the people. Mr. Olaf Palme was still alive before he got shot. Why? Because he propagated that people should come together. When you go in the Swedish cities until today, even small places, even suburbs of Malmö, you find always a center place there with benches, and some fountain, some water, and some children toy place, When I came to Sweden, these places were full of people, that? They were sitting still together every evening or whenever they could. They were talking to each other, if you want to meet somebody, you have to go to the post office. Because everybody met in a post office sooner or later. Or Landhandel, that was also a place people met. Hello, how are you? Oh, hey, Johan, hello, blah, 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 blah. And they were talking to each other. Nonsense, but they were talking to each other. Now it's all quiet and dead. Nobody is there. Why? Because successfully people were divided. This is just to illustrate how this age works. So here we are at the beginning of this age, on a battlefield of Kurukshetra, where Arjuna is facing, he's innocently going, first of all, Prabhupada gives us a lecture about that when you want to oppose, or when you want to preach, even in a frame of preaching, you have to estimate the strength of your enemies. Yeah? Prabhupada even said, this is a logical thing. You have to estimate the strength of your enemies. And Prabhupada said, the more strong the enemies your enemies are, that's the proof you are doing something right, actually. Because when you are not doing something important, nobody cares. Yeah. I remember when the German police, I joined in Germany, when we were severely attacked by the police, which in one day rolled over the temple, confiscated all the money, leaders were in jail, we were prosecuted on the streets you cannot imagine. They were hunting us like rabbits. Germans are very good at this. They know. Very organized, very precise, There was a situation, if dressed like this, I would walk now on the street, a lady would come running, grabbing me, and said, I got him, I got him. I go, what, getting him what? Police. When the police came, and they always came very fast, they're going, what has he done? And she was going, well, nothing, but they wrote in the newspaper, when you see Hare Krishna, you must catch them immediately. So that was the atmosphere. We used to go out and preach in Germany. Now they have other problems. Now they don't care really. They really have other problems in Germany. But still, this is just to mention like an example. So when Prabhupada got a report, German police rolled over us, they confiscated all the money. We are finished. Prabhupada laughed. He didn't even comment on the details. He said, pray to Lord Nrsingadev, it will be okay. And then he commented, you should be glad they didn't kill you. Yeah, why not? People get killed today, yes. People disappear, you know that. Yeah. I know in Russia, there's always like somebody falling from a balcony. I don't know why they have this always going on, you know. Cannot they learn some other new way, method how to get people, rid of people? This politician fell from the balcony and he was flying from the balcony and he fell down. What is the balcony? I don't know. You know. And so politics are full of this kind of things. And without a doubt, Bhagavad Gita, we have a political situation here. How do politics come about? This is me. I am the nationality. I am this body. That's my identity. And this is mine. Don't come here. This is mine. We have customs, borders. Srila Prabhupada commented even on the border situation in a cynical way. He compared the custom officers to dogs. When you come to somebody's house, the dog comes out. You didn't do anything, but the dog is already barking. Prabhupada compared custom officers like this. He got also sometimes in trouble when traveling around, you know. Like Prabhupada had a bag with Ayurvedic medicine. That's really, they opened his suitcase checking. There was all these little bottles with all kinds of substances in it. They had no idea. They were thinking it's drugs or whatever. So there was regularly a problem. So, but this is all a result of extreme bodily consciousness. Krishna consciousness is so big. It's so beyond that. And it's so global and universal that we have nothing to do with this. We don't care how somebody is colored, his skin. We don't care even if he is a male or female. Why? Because, it's temporary. The body is changing already now, and sooner or later it will change completely. You know, the women who are protesting against the men, they become the man in next lifetime. And the men who are always talking about the women, they become the women in next lifetime. They just switch the sides, but the same illusion goes on. Nothing changed, actually. It's the same illusion. And we see it sometimes. I know it when I deal with, especially in Krishna consciousness, much of the preaching today is done by ladies. Sorry, I have to say. Not all men will agree with that, but this is the picture you get when you travel around. Yeah. Because ladies are more socially, you could say, aware and more active socially. Men tend to be more of an introverted nature, and they have to think about it. A lot of thinking going on. Sorry, I hope nobody gets insulted, but ladies don't think sometimes very much. They just feel. They go, hey, this is nice. And they just do it. Now, for Krishna consciousness, this is perfect. It's great. Why not? But when it's not Krishna consciousness, that's how you get in trouble. Yeah. You feel it, you do it. When it's a Krishna conscious thing, very nice. When it's material, well, that's how you get in trouble. Now, men do that too. We know that. We know that. Yeah. But men are considering themselves of a more intellectual nature. Just think about it. And therefore, Krishna arranged this humorous, I would call it nowadays, almost a humorous combination between male and female, because the men are thinking, I have to think about it. And then a lady comes in, and ladies, they have the power to finish off a man, get him under control with one glance, one look. Men don't have that much power on this. Men are like staring, But ladies, they just look. They didn't say anything. One very wise man, he said, the biggest quality of a lady is silence. Because it creates an atmosphere where the man gets intimidated. There was a look. I don't want to go no more in detail how it works, but I think sooner or later everybody knows how it works. It's called falling in love. It's not calling raising in love, it's called falling in love. It's interesting, isn't it? Nobody says, I raised myself to love. No, I fall in love. Plop. It's like falling over. Whoop. And that's it. Purely emotional affair. There's nothing to do with rationality whatsoever. Yeah. So this is the background of politics too. It sounds like politicians, they sound about the welfare of the people and they have a concept and program. It's all about emotional thing. You don't come here, this is mine. No, this is mine. Now I will be the ruler. No, I will be the ruler. It's like children. The problem is that grown-up people have weapons. Children usually don't have weapons, they just have a stick. Or I saw a scene on the street, one child eats the ice cream and the other child is envious. It's all about envy. And then just goes to the other child and simply hits his hand so the ice cream falls on the ground. Now, you don't have ice cream, I don't have ice cream. That's it. This is what envy is doing. Completely irrational. It's instant. So much of politics is like that. So Krishna himself tried to introduce some rationality into the whole thing. He explained to the opposing party, there was peace talks, and Krishna was presiding. And everybody respected Krishna, And they knew he is not really partial. He just said, why are you doing this? You are one family originally, even from the birth. You are one dynasty originally. So why are you the consequences of that? This can result in a huge conflict, war. People will die. He explained all this to them. And he even explained to the leader of the whole, there's always one who is more aggressive. This is mine. He explained to him, look, cannot you give to the opposing party at least a little piece of land? They are kshatriyas. Kshatriya means king, royal person. They need something to rule over. They need the area to rule over. That's natural. So why don't you give them at least one village? I mean, you have so many villages, your kingdom is huge. Give them at least one village. And Duryodhana, the leader of the party, said, I will not give them even that much land which fits on a tip of the needle. That means nothing. Then war was declared, unavoidably. And the purpose of wars, it looks like outside wars are actually started for economical purposes. It's a good business, for producing weapons and, and then at the end you smash something and then you know who the biggest investor in Vietnam is? Vietnam War, that's the time, my generation, American devotees even were threatened to go to Vietnam War. America lost actually the Vietnam War officially. But you know what happened? became the biggest investor in a completely broken country, which was destroyed by the war. And now you have a new field to invest. This is the only problem with this society today. There was no war for a long time. Can you imagine? I spent my lifetime in a very unusual time. There was not a real war in Europe. There was some invasion, like I experienced Russian invading Czechoslovakia. I was there. It was just one day, a few days action. And no shooting. There was no really fighting because it was the allies who attacked them. So there was no even Kurukshetra. And Czechs are not exactly that kind of people who immediately fight back. Czechs are people who just wait who is coming because they were invaded all the time. The whole history of that part of the Europe, they were all the time invaded because they are in the middle of the whole thing. Austrians, Polish, Russian, everybody came, Germans, everybody came. So they always go, oh, it's another invasion. Okay. Then they wait. And then they steal everything from the investors, whatever they can. Extremely opportunistic people. But you cannot be angry on them because how they survived. Yeah. So anyway, this is a detail. But some countries, it will not happen in some other countries. Like I travel often to Croatia. Croatia means conflict all the time. You try to occupy or invade this country. They have a saying in Croatia, one Croatian, one party. This is that's how it goes. Well, devotees are not so excluded from that. You may say now in Krishna consciousness we have such a wonderful philosophy and everything, it should stop, isn't it? Not completely. Not completely. It's still going on to some degree. And to the degree it's going on, our material way of thinking, to that degree, we cannot become Krishna conscious and we cannot spread Krishna consciousness to others. So, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna being driven in the middle of the armies, he is shocked. Why? Because he knows everybody on the other side of the battlefield. That was his friends, his teachers, his highly respected, personalities, older in age, who were actually lovingly raising him. And now they are standing there. And Arjuna was not so much shocked by the fact they were standing on the opposite side, because he knew the background. They had to. They were obliged by alliance, by agreement, by contract. But he was shocked by the way they were enthusiastic to fight and kill him. The very same people he grew up with, they were like, okay, let's start, let's kill them all. And you too. So that was for him too much. I mean, we cannot even picture that situation. I mean, there are countries like Croatia, I mentioned, which end up in civil war. Civil wars are the worst. They are like fighting neighbors against each other. That's the worst. It's not the invaders even. It's a neighbor. When I first time visited Croatia, that was after the Yugoslavian war, officially was still. In the evening, the devotee who accommodated me, I heard in the evening, prrr, prrr, prrr. I said, this is Kalashnikov. Somebody is exercising, shooting still? He said, no, just the neighbors have some dispute again. I was going, okay, it never stops, isn't it? Yeah. You can only imagine how much weaponry is in that country because, after the war, there's so many weapons who are just abandoned. People collect the whole thing and put it in a cupboard, just in case. So that's the worst type of conflict. Here, we have another conflict, which is Vedic conflict. Vedic culture is not free of conflicts. It's not a love and peace culture, sorry. Prabhupada made it very clear. He said, we are not non-violent people. This is not Krishna consciousness. We are ready to exercise violence for protecting, and there is exactly a list who should be protected. Women, old men, children, incapacitated, who cannot fight back. Vedic war means it is to be always equally. So equal that one has a sword in the hand, the other one must have also a sword. One is standing, the other one must be also standing. And as soon the enemy surrenders, no more fighting. No revenge. We surrendered, okay, no more fighting. So this is there are exactly rules of warfare, and it was fought by professionals, all Kshatriya type. There was not one single woman on that battlefield. There was not one single old man, except Bhishma, but he was a special one. There was no children. It's not like bombing, throw bombs on cities full of civilian people. I mean, it couldn't be more savage type. It's horrible. Riots in India, the history of India, just rioting, all politically steered up. Srila Prabhupada remembers he was witnessing himself when he was small, riots, Muslim against Hindu, completely artificial. He said, we lived next to each other for generations. There was no problem. Yeah, you worship Allah, I worship Krishna. Yes, actually Indian Muslims are not real Muslims. They are Muslimized. They are not born in a Muslim country. They are born in India. But the Muslims invaded, heavily invaded, and they made a rule that if you become a Muslim, you don't have to pay taxes. If you are Hindu, you must pay heavy taxes. Well, Indian people are quite practical, so they were going, okay, how do I become a Muslim? Well, you just go, Allah Akbar, you grow a beard. And then the rules at that time, still in the Brahminical community especially, were very strict. You were sprinkled just from the water, with the water, from a kitchen of a Muslim, you became a Muslim. You were rejected by the Brahminical community. Boof, heavy. It was very strict. So, but they were still born in a Vaishnava families, even in a devotee families, and so the son became a Muslim. So what? So this is not that kind of Muslims like originally from the Arabic countries, where people are born. I don't want to go now into this, but born in a very harsh and very violent environment. And even amongst Muslims, there are so many differences. There's a Shiites, there's a different Muslim. They are not so fanatical, they are not so violent. So even there you find differences. And they fight each other too. So fighting. So Arjuna, seeing this, was completely heartbroken. He was not afraid to fight, and he was not afraid even to die. Kshatriya means no fear of one's death and this. Absolutely not. Kshatriya means, if there's a challenge, immediately accepting challenge, fighting to the point of death. Actually, the original warfare was much more simple. Two kings meet on a battlefield with their armies, but the armies don't fight. The armies watch. And the two kings fight to the point of death. There's no survival. There's only one can survive. And the one who survived, he's a victory. And then the army from that king walks over to the other army and they go, the king is dead. Long live the king. And that's it. That's the end of the war. And they all go home. Quite different from today and quite different from what we see in the name of warfare today. So, but Kurukshetra was arranged like this. Everybody was involved, but all professional soldiers. Absolutely. There was not one civilian, there was not one businessman or working man. They were in a backline supporting. And most of them were heavy, very heavy people. They were raised for fighting. It was their profession. And very strong people. Nowadays, you don't find many people like that. Like all of them had many wives. Polygamy was standard. It was not exception, it was a standard. Every warrior had at least 2-3 wives. Yeah, at least, even more. Big king had 20 wives. Why not? He could maintain them, no problem. So, first argument, Arjuna being so shocked, he's telling to Krishna, if I kill all the men, and Arjuna was Maharati. Maharati is somebody who can fight with 10,000 men alone. That much power Arjuna had. So he said, if I kill all these men, there will be so many widows. Naturally. Nobody goes home here. Prabhupada said, Kurukshetra means nobody goes home. So, and then these women, widows, yeah. I saw it still when coming to Germany in the 60s. There were still widows living from the Second World War whose husbands were actually killed in the Second World War or died in imprisonment in Russia. It was a big problem. It was a big problem. They got, I don't want to go into details, but the first invasion, the immigration to Germany was from Italy. Because South Italy was very poor. So Germans offered, please come work in Germany. And they welcomed with a great, the Italian. What did the Italian do? They were working in Germany, helping to build up the country again, And of course, didn't took long, and some of them got married in Germany. And why? Well, because the widow, you have to be actually very Krishna conscious to survive alone. That's for both men and women, but sorry to say it, but for women especially. Very vulnerable situation. I can give you a list of names of amazing ladies who are practicing Krishna consciousness alone. They all have a problem. They have a special challenge. Because there's a man out there walking who goes, ha ha, there's a lonely woman here, ha ha. When they know there's a man around the corner, not so easy, not so easy. Just by knowing he is there around the corner, they know could be trouble. Now, therefore, it's in one sense not natural, but the Kali Yuga is full of this kind of stories, full of the stories. But I don't want to go in detail how it's happening, why it's happening, but it's happening. Yeah. So that's what Arjuna was worried about. I kill all the men, there will be thousands and thousands of widows with children helplessly standing on a street. Who will take care of them? That was one argument. And they will be vulnerable, possibly seduced. The result of this is Varna Shankara, means unpredictably manifesting children, from an unmarried circumstance. Suddenly she's pregnant. Yeah. Now Arjuna didn't even consider the sinful activity of killing a child, which is today a standard. Sorry, maybe it's not so palatable to say that, but tonight in Malmö, in some hospital, there will be children killed. Tonight, guarantee. And they call it family planning. It's amazing, what a word. They destroy the family and they call it the family planning. Yeah, Shall we have a child? No. But I'm pregnant. Kill it. Kill it. Prabhupada was so upset about this. He gave the example of Brahmananda, his disciple, who later on was informed by his mother that actually his mother was advised by her mother, by his grandmother, to kill him before he was born. But she refused, so he survived. Prabhupada said, this is your culture. This is your culture you are so proud of. Killing children everywhere. Not mentioning killing cows and everything. You are just killing everywhere. The whole Sweden is full of killing. All the time killing. But it's covered up. Nobody speaks about that. Nobody mentioned this. It's not published in the media, in the evening news. Tonight, there were so many children killed in Sweden. Nobody wants to hear such a news. It's covered up. So that's the hypocrisy. That's another aspect of Kali Yuga. Quarrel and hypocrisy. You are covering up the facts. You are not honest. You don't say what's really happening. You are lying. So, Arjuna was shocked. Completely shocked. He said, I cannot fight. The results will be incredible. And he was not so wrong. And Krishna didn't even argue with him. He pointed to him, yeah, but there is another plan, which is beyond your understanding. There is a higher plan. These people acting so sinfully, and they will keep on acting sinfully, they have to die. They cannot be in this body. Prabhupada gives a simple example. When you eat something wrong, you get sick. The best thing is to throw up. So, if you do something so sinful, better you get rid of that body. And you cannot obviously change it, then better you don't have that body. Therefore, we have 8,400,000 different kind of bodies. And animal bodies, they don't have the problem anymore. There is no sin for animal. Why? Because they just act like according to the nature. Dog is a dog, cat is a cat. Cat kills a mouse, no sin. Dog kills a cat, no sin, So there's no sin in the animal kingdom. But amongst people, that's a problem because we have a decision to make and we can change our course of action. We are responsible. Animals are not responsible. We are responsible as human beings. So Krishna concluded they will not change, they have to die. It is not what I wanted, it's not what you wanted, but these are the laws of nature. Law means it cannot be changed. When you do this and this and this, you will do this and that punishment. It's absolutely precise. It's not like the material law, where a good lawyer can get you out of any trouble. But no. Material laws are very strict. And Krishna will not change that. No. Now for a devotee, that's another thing. But you have to be a very special devotee. But anyway, it's another issue. But Krishna explained to Arjuna, this is not going to change. Now I will read finally some shloka, which is containing a point. Can you imagine, after 50 years reading Bhagavad Gita, I discovered a new point in Bhagavad Gita. This is so amazing about these books. You can read them again, and you think, hey, I missed this one. Amazing. There's something new in Bhagavad Gita. There's always something new. You know why? Because we are progressing and we see certain things we didn't see before. It was there all the time. It's not that Krishna added something in the last minute, but we were not reading it properly and not understanding. But therefore it's so important to read Bhagavad Gita again and again and again. Now this is chapter first chapter, of course, text 37 and 38, where Arjuna is still arguing with Krishna. I cannot fight. No. He goes, oh Janardhan, another name of Krishna. Also, these men standing on the other side of the battlefield, overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends. Why should we, with knowledge of the sin, engage in these acts? Arjuna is fully recognizing, yeah, these people are in Maya, they're in illusion, yeah? But why should we join them and respond in the same way? This is actually, Buddhists and Christians have the same point. You know, if somebody slaps you on his cheek, hold the other one. Don't fight back, because then you get involved. Violence produces violence. We have it clearly exhibited in mafia circles. You know, yeah, there is this revenge. You killed my father, I will kill you, father. You killed my child, I will kill you, child. You know, and it goes endlessly. It's from generation to generation inherited. So the mafiosos, they have one actually great quality. They are self-destructive. It's right now exhibited in Sweden. Sorry, I have to be a little bit update. You know, yeah. Some people find the bombs in front of the door. Boom. The next day, the bomb is in front of his door. Boom. You know, yeah. And you, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, get your back, like this. But actually, the illusion is the same. So Arjuna said, why should we? This is the nature of a devotee. Yeah. Devotee knows when I get involved here, then I get entangled. Yeah. Therefore, one of the first English words I learned in Krishna consciousness, actually, when I came to this movement, I could hardly speak English. I learned English from Prabhupada just by listening to him all the time. And from the devotees, many of them came from America and they were English speaking. And the first word devotees were using all the time was anyway. 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 I was going, everybody was using this word. But Prabhu, we have some anyway. I was going, what is this? This is a kind of new mantra, or what is this? There is Hare Krishna mantra, and there was always this anyway. Why? Well, because it's the nature of a devotee not to get entangled in this action and reaction, in the karmic action and reaction of this material world. Therefore, anyway, let them do that. Therefore, Prabhupada said we should never become politically involved. And we should not, get entangled with this argument. Who is the good one and the bad one in the material world? Prabhupada said it's all bad. There's no good and bad. It's all bad. Because it's in the material controlled by material energy. We are in the wrong place. It's like you swim in the ocean and you discuss, shall we swim up or down? Which direction should we swim? No, you are in the ocean, you are drowning. That's as simple as that. It doesn't matter if the water is cold or warm, you are drowning. That was the point Prabhupada made. And we have to get out of the drowning. So Arjuna was thinking like a devotee, actually. It was actually nice. He said, let them have it. I'm going. Bye-bye. Because the results can be terrible. The purport of Srila Prabhupada is very interesting. Prabhupada writes, a Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse the battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. This is a rule of a Kshatriya. You cannot refuse a challenge. Gamble is in one sense also a fight. It's also, somebody tries to challenge you. It's a challenge, Come on, let's have a gamble. And we know from Mahabharata that the Pandavas were losing their kingdom by gambling, not by fighting. But it was crooked gambling. So that added to the point that the real fighting had to take place because they were cheated. So Under such obligation, Arjuna could not refuse to fight because he was challenged by the party of Duryodhana. In this connection, Arjuna considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. Arjuna, however, could see the evil consequences and could not accept the challenge. Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good. But when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. Considering all these pros and contradiction, Arjuna decided not to fight. This point made here is quite interesting. Prabhupada said, in general, devotee is not obliged. As a general principle. Yeah, obliged means just because you are addressing me like this, that doesn't mean I have to address you back like that. Therefore, devotees sometimes appear as unpolite or socially not very well behaved. You saw it in preaching, and Prabhupada demonstrated that when he met persons who were extremely foolish and started to argue, and some Prabhupada was going, can hear it. And then there was no more argument back. Prabhupada immediately quoted the scripture. Bang! You know, not very polite. He was not very empathetic. Oh, the popular issue, we have to be empathetic. How do you feel? What do you think? Well, how do I feel? I feel right now like going to the toilet or whatever. I don't know. Feeling can change. I mean, when I feel differently before I go to the toilet, and when I go out of the toilet, I feel very differently. So what is a feeling? How do you feel? You know, well, feelings are changing all the time, guarantee. They're changing all the time. I feel cold, I feel warm. I feel nice, I don't feel so nice. It's all the time. If you don't do anything, you just sit in one place, your feelings will change. You don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to do anything. You just sit and watch your feelings changing. So, shall we now have some discussion on that level? I have to explain to you, you have to listen how I feel. Okay, I listen. How do you feel? Well, I feel right now like this. But yesterday you felt completely differently. Sounds like husband and wife, isn't it? You know, this is a classical dilemma. How do you feel? You know, I don't know. It's changing all the time. Anyway, whoever, you have to get married to exercise that, you know. So in the morning, the wife tells you, you're the biggest idiot on this planet. In the evening, she tells you, what will I do without you? And you go, what? Not even 24 hours passed, and I became, from the idiot, I became the hero. How does this work? I don't know, only ladies can understand that. Men are also like that, but in a more constructive way. And it's a fact, it's expected from a man that he can keep the line. He doesn't get so emotionally affected. Unfortunately, again, in Kali Yuga, sometimes it's opposite. I saw it. The man goes, I feel, and the woman goes, shut up. We have to do this now. We have to do the needful. Shut up. Actually, in the domestic field, it very often works like this. Because men are always thinking further. Women can be extremely pragmatic. They think now. What shall we do now? Come on. Huh? We need something to eat. Get something to eat. Now. And the man thinks, but what will we eat next year? Well, who cares? They have nothing to eat now. Women can be very pragmatic on this. I notice that. And it's very helpful, actually. Because men get sometimes complicated. They get very complicated. You know. There's other things, like that's one of the reasons why ladies can do 10 things at once. You know, they have a baby here, they have cooking here, they do this here, they do that there. Men cannot do so many things at once. They can do one thing full time. They are very dedicated, but not two things, three things. Things get complicated. Ladies, they can do just, all kinds of things. They can play different roles. I don't want to go now more in detail, but they can be the mother. They can be the wife. They can be even the mistress. We will not talk about that. They can do all these things at once. Man cannot do so many things at once. The man is very simple creatures, actually. So this is just to illustrate how complex things can get in a material world. So how do I feel? Yeah, it's good to listen sometimes. I know that ladies sometimes they have such a demand to say what they feel, and the men have a problem with that. They go, do I have to listen to this again? Oh no, big mistake, big mistake. I cannot talk much about this. I didn't learn my lessons until today. I can take only this much of this I feel. And then it's okay. Okay, what are we going to do about it? That's a man thinking. Okay, there's a problem. We have to solve it. What are we going to do about it? And ladies go, what do you mean do about it? I just want to say how I feel. And you idiot, try to immediately make something out of this. I didn't expect that. Men cannot understand that. So sometimes it's just good just to shut up and listen. And okay, yes. Oh, poor. It's so amazing what you feel. Oh. And then the ladies go out of such a session. They go, this was a good talk. We had a good exchange. Well, he didn't say one thing, the man. This is like give you an example how complicated, how ridiculous things are on a basic level of feeling. And then that comes to even more complicated level. What do you want? Well, I want so many things. Yesterday I wanted this, now I want that. And what do you want? It's changing also all the time, you know that? I want that you are here. Now I want that you get lost. It can happen, just like this, switch. Up, 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 up. So these levels of discussion, Arjuna's problem was truly emotional. Even he was presenting a very rational consideration, like about killing the man. Then we have so many widows. And when everybody is killed and we are the winners, what we are going to enjoy? A devastated landscape? Or being just alone? What kind of enjoyment is this? He knew that. They have even saying there is no winners in war. There is all losers at the end. That's the material way of thinking. And very often it's the case. Prabhupada gives example, by the end of Second World War, England was finished and Germany was finished. There were opposing parties, they were both finished. England lost all the colonies. Oh boy. Prabhupada had a very deep insight, political insight too. He said the Second World War was over the colonies. That's where it started. German colonies, English colonies. That's where it started. Prabhupada knew lots of things which had nothing to do exactly with our philosophy, but he knew, he just saw it. So anyway, so he said at the end they were both finished. No winners. Actually, the only winner who was there was the third one, which was relatively not so involved, just at the end. That was America. There were the poor Russians, it cannot be even compared how many Russians lost their lives in the Second World War in comparison to how many Americans lost their lives. They cannot be even compared. Very minor part, Americans. But they were both equally winners at the end. Okay? Yeah? But, but this is all historical facts which were happening there. This is just to illustrate Arjuna's consideration were valid. He said, what kind of enjoyment will be that? If everybody is dead. And we know by the end of Kurukshetra, Only the Pandavas survived. They lost soldiers even on their own side. They were all dead, both sides. And Krishna explains, all your considerations are valid, but nevertheless irrelevant, because there is a superior plan. This war will happen. They will die, even you don't fight, because it's already decided by me. When God decides something, nobody can change anything about it. So one way or another, they will all die. And Prabhupada always gave the ultimate argument. He said, all this discussion about living and dying, war and peace. Prabhupada said, sorry, in this material world, we are all going to die, with war or without war. You can say it's unnaturally dying. Hare Krishna. It's unnatural dying. Okay? What do you mean? When Prabhupada was confronted with the fact in Africa there are so many children dying, there are countries which have 70% of death rate, 70% of death rate. Prabhupada said, what are they talking about, 70%? It's 100% death rate everywhere. We are dying all. That's it. We cannot change it. So this is the fact. Still, Arjuna was supposed to do his duty. And this is what Krishna consciousness is about. Like we have made consideration, how many people become Krishna conscious? Why is not more people taking to Krishna consciousness? This is irrelevant. We try our best to inform everybody. We try our best to introduce people to Krishna consciousness. And if somebody is taking or leaving, or practicing or not practicing, well, that's up to them. We cannot violate that free will of everybody to take part or not. So our war is also going on, war with illusion. Now, I don't want to go more in detail and explain that Prabhupada said, yes, there might be a situation arising where even in Krishna consciousness, there will be a Krishna conscious army. There will be this. But the mood of this movement is the mood of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya didn't collect army. He didn't kill anybody. He killed the ignorance. Our warfare is preaching. Yeah. But Prabhupada said, if we are not allowed to preach or if we are obstructed to preach, violence can be also applied. It's unavoidable. But as we know, in Krishna consciousness, looking 50 years back, like in my case, when I look 54 years back, I think, well, we are not up to it even to have some political influence, to have some army. We are happy that we can survive it all ourselves. That's our challenge, how to stay in Krishna consciousness. And no army will help you with that. And Krishna consciousness is ahaituke apratihata. It cannot be stopped by any material circumstance, and it doesn't need any material circumstance to flourish. This is a very essential point. We don't need some favorable political situation or unfavorable political situation. Therefore, Prabhupada said, war is not for devotees. Now you could say, how, we get affected when the war is starting here, we will get to feel it. Prabhupada meant, no, devotees are not participating in this actively, taking sides, taking like this. No. They know it's all bad. Prabhupada gave a very graphic example. He said, the choice we have in the material world is the choice, like in India, when there is a cow dung lying on a street. The top part is dry from the sun, and the bottom is still wet. Now you can choose. It's your democratic choice. Which part is better, the dry one or the wet one? Well, sorry, it's all cow dung. It's the same thing. And this is actually, Arjuna indicates this here also. It's just Krishna introduced him to the higher plan. There is a higher plan. But on a material platform, no. There's a dry and wet, it's the same stool. It's the same thing. So devotees don't get entangled and indulge themselves in such politically motivated campaigns. There are favorable times and not so favorable times. I mean, I could go in politics. I can go to India, I could go to Russia. I experience in my lifetime both sides, not so favorable and more favorable, right? Like Srila Prabhupada was very negative about India when he preached. He was actually disgusted. He came to the West. He had not one good word to say about India as a nation. Why? Because he was trying to spread Krishna consciousness in India. Nobody helped. No assistance, nothing. And then he found in the West much more assistance from the hippies, crazy people. But they were willing to join and help him. In India, nobody was willing to help and join him. So Prabhupada was quite disgusted. And he said, if India goes the same direction, he called, the leaders of India demons at that time. And they were actually, India was heavily flirting and being inclined to listen from Russia, from the communists. Because there was so much poverty in India, and still is. But when poverty comes, the communism becomes very, very popular, So Russians were invading India, and they were like invading the government, and they were everywhere as advisors, and well-wishing friends of India. Even it's completely crazy, they were atheists, communistic atheists in a theistic India. Still, Prabhupada said, this is a very bad direction. He had not much, actually, he was not very positive. Amongst the common people on the street, that is another thing. He spoke about the government and about this. But amazingly enough, we find in India nowadays more support and more dynamic development of Krishna consciousness, I personally think, more as Prabhupada would ever expect. It's amazing in India how Krishna consciousness is spreading everywhere, and it's embraced by people and government too, government members of the government. It's just, I think Prabhupada would be quite pleased by seeing that. Yeah. And regarding America and the West, Prabhupada predicted that actually said, if you don't take Krishna consciousness, you will all go to hell. It's the course is so destructive, what you are taking. But even there, we can find that things are on the move, things are changing, maybe to more favorable times, maybe not so favorable. For a devotee, it doesn't matter. I experienced Russia being the dark country. If you chant Hare Krishna in Russia, 1980, 85, 86, you will be immediately imprisoned in a mental hospital because the chanting was considered a mental disease. You are hypnotized by some mantra. You will treat you now. They locked up, anybody who was chanting was locked up in a jail-like psychiatric hospital and heavily, heavily treated with drugs. And, and some people died, some devotees died. So that was a Russia I first time learned. Going there, very dangerous. Smuggling first Russian books into Russia, very dangerous. You could really lose your life. Yeah, without even being imprisoned. Come on. If the KGB wants somebody to disappear, he will disappear. Russia is until today a country where things are pretty rough. Pretty rough. I like it actually. I liked it when I came to Russia. I think, wow. All devotees sitting at home. They opened a cupboard, there was guns inside. I was going, hey, this is your guns? Yeah, come on. There's bears everywhere here. I'm living in a countryside, you know. Yeah. You go in a country, a forest, there's a bear coming out. Oh, yeah, well, you know. For Russian, yeah, you're just another bear. Get out. For them, it's like mosquito, you know. It's like, you know. And they are living in such a harsh environment, you know. I remember when the train arrived in the train station, I was going on a train. I never saw a train that high constructed. It was this high. When the train stopped, you needed special stairs to go into the train. And I was going, why is the train so high? It doesn't make any sense. Normally here, you know, when the train stops, you just walk in. No, over there you must go stairs up and then you went in a wagon. Why? Because the trains are going through landscape which are so full of snow that, you know, that practically they plow through the snow. They don't drive through the snow, they plow through the snow. Completely normal, you know, yeah. People are just so tough there, you know. Of course, in the cities, it may be a little bit more different, as it usually is, but the more you go in the countryside, very, and it's so huge, the country. It's huge, vast country. So, and people are very heavy. So, you know, so much for that. But nowadays, I mean, when I was in Russia, they asked me, please, can you stay here? Because we have so many devotees everywhere. We don't even know how many devotees we have. And they are sometimes very enthusiastically chanting, but they are still not, they don't know what they are doing. You know, there are all kinds of speculations in Russia too, really wild things, you know. Yeah, Vedas come from Russia, you know. And in Russia, it's very important to point out that no, vodka is vegetarian, but you cannot offer it to Krishna, okay? You know, it's like, you know, it's wild. But so many people chant Hare Krishna. So many people embrace Krishna consciousness. The congregations are powerful, they're big, you know. So they don't even know how many devotees are there. Here in West, we know how many devotees are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a big number already, you know. So things are positive or negative. But from Arjuna we can learn, and from Krishna, this is not our concern. Our concern is to do our duty. An obligation is such, if we are obliged to a spiritual authority, it's very good. If we are obliged to material authority, it doesn't have to be very good. So therefore Prabhupada comments the obligation is good, provided it's rightly motivated. Otherwise, devotee is not obliged. We are not obliged even to our closest friends, to our closest relatives. It's a heavy thing to say. If they are averse to Krishna consciousness and their association is detrimental to Krishna consciousness, we are not obliged to serve them, to help them, or to associate with them. It sounds heavy, but this is Krishna's point of view. For a devotee, the logic is very simple. Yes, I'm deeply obliged to my spiritual master, I'm deeply obliged to Krishna, and I'm deeply obliged to anybody who serves Krishna. Yes, certainly. Outside of that, devotee is not so obliged. Actually, they have it in the Bible too, you know that? They were saying in Bible, Jesus says, you give to the emperor what's emperor's. Don't bother. In other words, don't argue even with him. Just give him what he wants and let him go. That's all. Don't, you know. So devotees outwardly may act like, okay, we do what we have to do. Like we are sitting here in a place which is definitely spiritually motivated. But we have to pay the rent anyway. You know, we are obliged to pay the rent. Nothing is for free. You know, in the material world, actually, nothing is for free. You know, in Sweden, they always go, we will give you, this is for free. Nah, it's not that. There's always a price to it. You know, nothing is for free. So we are obliged, yes, to some degree, but only what we have to, and the rest we are not obliged. That's the logic of a devotee. It's a very interesting point made here. Okay, I don't want to, I could go for a long time on this, but this is just the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The philosophy didn't even start it. Just imagine in the second chapter, which is a summary study of Bhagavad Gita, the whole Bhagavad Gita is concentrated in the second chapter. There you find one philosophical statement after another. That's actually where Bhagavad Gita really starts. So thank you for listening. Yes, I have some questions. We can speak later if somebody has a question, isn't it? I don't know what the timing is. But...
During prasadam we can continue.
Huh?
During prasadam we can continue.
Huh?
During prasadam we can continue.
Yeah, we have the prasadam questions. Yeah. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Srila Prabhu ki jai.
I have a question. Do you speak Russian?
Russian?
Yes. Do you speak Russian?
Unfortunately not, but I learned Russian first 4 years in a school.
Yeah.
I went to the communist school. Everybody had to learn Russian.
Yeah, yeah.
And speaking Slavian language.
You can understand Russian people when you can.
I understand, like when Russian people talk, I can get easily half of it. Because I'm coming from Czech background, Slavian language. It's a Slavian language.
We're in the same family, you and I.
Yeah.
I come from Poland.
It's a Slavian thing.
Yes,
I understand even Croatian when I am for a while in Croatia. I understand Polish when I am for a while Polish. It's the same root.
So you speak Polish to me.
You know. Here, Swedish.
So everybody can understand.
Sweden is more Germanic. Actually, more Germanic. The Swedes would like to know.
Yes.
You know.
Which part of?
I came with my daughter. She's Swedish born. We came to Germany. She could speak German in 3 months.
Yeah,
Because so many similar words and so many. This is a Germanic thing.
yeah.
But then there's a Slavian part. And Slavian languages are very,
That's special.
very similar.
Yeah, we are special people.
I like this. I regret that Russians were the occupying people. It's like in Czech, learning Russian was like learning German in the Second World War, So nobody liked that. But we had to. It was a must in a school, but it was like a must. Okay,
My country was not on the maps 128 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, Czechia was not too. Yeah, but
So, but I regret that because Russian is actually, especially today, even amongst devotees, it's a very important language.
But normal people in Russia, normal like everyone was us, yeah. But they have a maybe not good politics, yeah, or they have a not too loud. They cannot speak loud because they have consequences.
Yeah.
Understand, yeah. But normal people in Russia, the same like you, like I.
It's in Krishna consciousness, one can overcome all the culture and linguistic differences easily. Well, when we chant Hare Krishna and a Kirtan, who cares who is speaking what? It's the same thing, okay? Prabhupada gave us a universal language. But it's a fact. It's nice to learn languages. Like I speak, practically I can communicate in 5 languages. It helps on the road. People feel immediately more related when you speak the language they understand. It helps, but it's not an absolute requirement. I mean, yes, but I travel to countries where people don't speak yet so much English. It's a problem. There's always translation needed constantly, like that. And you depend on translation of somebody who is maybe, he's translating in his own way. Yeah. So So it's very good to learn languages, especially if when one is young. I realized that after 40 years old, and this, it became more difficult to absorb a language. And I had the privilege that actually the languages I learned was because I lived in there. I was surrounded by that language. So that's like Swedish, I understand everything. But talking was horrible because everybody in Sweden speaks English. So you switch to English immediately, and I don't have practice. So my Swedish sounds terrible, but I understand everything. You always understand first, and then you speak. It's always like that. Like you see here, Bhakti Nema, she did the best what she ever could do coming from Albania. She edits Prabhupada's books in Albanian, which was badly needed. You cannot imagine how grateful Prabhupada is for such a service. I can give you examples. I knew the first translator of Bhagavad Gita in Arabic. His name was Ravanare. He joined in Germany. He was with me for quite a long time. Heavy guy. He came from Lebanon, from Beirut. Heavy. It was a heavy fighting. He was a really fighter. I remember him. He had a voice like, just looking at him, He was going on a street distributing these books. He was going, hello, take one. People are like, okay, I will take the book. Okay. He was really had appearance like a policeman, But Prabhupada was so grateful to him. First, Arabic Bhagavad Gita. It's a funny book. You read it backwards, Arabic is really funny. But he was the one, Prabhupada was so giving him so much mercy. He also left the body already. So this is how you get the mercy. It's a wonderful service. If you can do more, if you wouldn't do anything else as putting up the books in Albanian, wow. Because by the time you are gone, and sorry, you will be gone, the books will stay. And so many people in Albania. There's devotees now from Czech Republic invading Albania, first time. Albania was always the worst. It was the only country where they bulldozed down the churches, the communistic government. They were destroyed. Even in Russia, they didn't do that. Yeah, but they just destroy even. They bulldoze them down. And now there's a completely another time, young people and new people, and they are completely unprepared for Krishna consciousness. I'm just getting reports from Albania now, from the Czech devotees. They have a good time there. They go on the street. Even the police is buying books. They go, oh, what is this? Oh, it doesn't have to be forever like that. The government didn't got the idea yet that what we're actually really doing, but it's a wonderful time. And and people are like, wow, this is new, this is amazing. And when you have a book, well, that's what will stay. Because devotees valid. They were there for 3 months. They distributed 2,500 books in 3 months. Just 3 brahmacharis from Czech Republic. So 2,500 books are already out. Yep. In 3 months. Muslim people is a very, very Muslim type of people.
They are open. They have not so much idea about,
Yeah, they don't even know. I saw there was a devotee who had a little camera with him distributing books. And he's going to a Muslim girl, obviously, And she goes, oh, okay. And then she gives a donation. She goes, oh, like this, I was going, oh, she may be get in trouble when she comes home with that kind of book. But, things are happening which are so amazing, so miraculous. I was just in Germany by the end of the year. There is a meeting of all the book distributors coming together from all over the Europe. Wonderful time, really ecstatic. You know, this year in the marathon, there's a special time where special focus goes to book distribution. In Germany, most of the books distributed were in Arabic. You think, what? What does the Germans say to that? And the devotees tell me, Germans? Ugh. There's so many Arabic-speaking people in Germany. And you know what they do? They are surprised. I came to Germany. They hardly know, okay, I'm in Germany, you know. Germany has nothing to do with Arabic and never will have anything to do with Arabic, but that's another issue. But that they just walk around, and then they meet a man on the street. He offers them Arabic book. They are amazed. They go, oh, I know this. And the devotees have an amazing way how to do that. They just go, excuse me, please, you know what it is? And they go, oh, this is Arabic. I just came. This is Arabic. Wonderful. And they go, but I cannot read it. Because really, I cannot read it. I'm a German. So can you please read it for me? What is it? And they go, and the words go, this sounds so great. What a wonderful language. And Arabic people go, yes, Arabic is the best. So now you can keep the book. And if you can give a little donation, would be nice. They buy Arabic books. Thousands of them went out just in this December, in this time, end of the year, last year. Germany, we go like, wow. Wow. I joined in Germany in 1972. Nobody would ever think that we are going to ever distribute an Arabic book. One single book in Germany. To whom? So you see how things are changing? Can happen to Sweden too. It's already happening more or less. You never know. When I came to Sweden in 1986, the Swedish devotees preaching here, actually they were not Swedish, they were imported, most of them, from all countries. It's a long story. They were actually amazed, like Indians, I don't know. I will be maybe 1-2 Indians in Stockholm. I was in Stockholm, yeah. But otherwise, Indians in Sweden, nobody knew even they exist. But now it's different. Now things changed again. As a matter of fact, ISKCON without Indians and Russians would have a really hard time in Europe. Really hard time. In Europe in general. You go to Bhaktivedanta Manor, England, you think, this is England, good old England. Try to find one English devotee. In England, hardly possible. I was going for years to London, again, for book distribution. We had a wonderful meetings there. You know who was the Sankirtan leader there? Who was the leader of the book distribution? Of course, he was from St. Petersburg. He was a Russian. Bhaktivedanta Manor, you will find practically not one single English person running around there. It's just Indian. That's all. And they saved the place. They did amazing things for that. So many books go out by the help of the Indians too. So this is everywhere I go. In Germany, they have 2 Hare Krishna movements. The German one, they are still Germans, yes. And then there's a Russian one, which is so big, they don't even know how big it is. They are not that closely connected. They are there, they know each other. But, they don't know, but because, there's so many. Oh, I was just in end of the year in Simhachalam, that's on the border, the Nishinga temple in Germany. I was amazed. There was a whole parking lot full of cars with Indians. We could never it's a very remote location. I just, wow. And they came, obviously, again and again and again, very regular visitors. So it's wonderful. This is what Prabhupada expected, actually. He was appealing to Indians. Come on, you are born in that country. You have the most wonderful culture heritage on this planet, practically. Krishna appeared in India. All his incarnations appeared in India. I mean, what an amazing place. So be proud of it. You know, don't go out there and just copy something which is already falling apart. You know, be proud of it. Prabhupada showed it. I know some people don't like it when I go more in detail, but I could go to Swedish direction. Here, when one Swedish person is coming, you could weigh him in gold. You know, it's like he has a value of a gold. It's so amazing. And there's always an idea, there was an idea of Swedish people, they don't even smile. To get a Swedish person to smile is a tough job. You know, they think. But I tell you one thing, when they really think about something, and they really understand something, they really understand that. They are not so cheap, you know, they are not so, you know, they really go, oh yes, this is good, yes. But it takes a long time. They have to think about it. I was here 28 years in this country, so I know I could say that, yeah. Therefore, all these persons who are born here and who actually understand, oh, this is good. This is rare, and this is very special, and this is wonderful. Every country, Prabhupada said, in every country through Krishna consciousness, the best comes out. And the other things, yeah, well, you know, we have to tolerate. One could say something negative about every country. But luckily we are not this body, and we don't belong really to any country. We belong to Krishna. That's what it is. Okay? Prasadam ki jai, or Aarti ki jai, or whatever.